Let's just say it. Change doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels like everything you knew is falling apart. And you end up questioning your direction, your identity, your decisions, and also wondering if you're failing or being prepared for something bigger. Because there is a lot of uncertainty during change, you don't know which is it. And in that in between, it can feel heavy, lonely, and even difficult to explain. If that's you right now, pause here. You're not alone. Let's walk through this transition, through this change together. I'm Cindy, and I'm here to help you through real transformation, especially the kind that doesn't come with clarity right away, because I've been there. And this space is about emotional honesty, identity shifts, and healing that's grounded in both science and soul. If that resonates, be sure to subscribe because around here, we don't bypass the hard stuff. We grow through it with compassion and clarity. Here's the truth about change that nobody tells you. Change rarely shows up the way you want it to. It doesn't always feel peaceful or empowering, especially in the beginning. It often feels like a loss of certainty, of rhythm, of the identity you built around being okay. Now, you may understand this intellectually, that something had to shift, but in your body, in your emotion, in your spirit, there may be grieving around the past, around what was. Now, I'm going to share a story with you that shocked me because it was unexpected in terms of me having a moment of not even knowing or understanding I was in grief. Now, keep in mind, I've been doing personal development, personal growth, being on a spiritual path, and really focused on leadership for over 20 years. And sometimes you're humbled and reminded of basic things that we often bypass. And one of those is grief, the grief of what was. A couple of years ago, I used to work for a university. I was a center director. It was a great job for all intents and purposes. And I reached a point in my career and in my life and my personal growth where it was time to move on. I chose to resign from a great job. And from the outside looking in, you would wonder why. I knew it was time for change. I was going through a lot of things internally and emotionally. It was around the time that my mother died of COVID. I've spoken openly about it on this podcast. And it was normal for me to understand and assume that I was grieving the death of my mother, which I was. That was not the grief I'm referring to. What I did not know and what shocked me was that at some point when I was in this transitional place of leaving my old job, that old identity of academic life, of being a university director, to moving into this space of leadership development, of podcasting, of writing books outside of the academy, I was grieving the old Cindy and didn't even know it. One day, when I was preparing my TEDx talk, The Power of Recognizing Potential, that some of you may have seen, I was contemplating, I was really being thoughtful about my entire experience that had brought me to the moment of writing the TEDx talk. As I sat there, I had an epiphany, and that was that not only was I grieving the death of my mother, I was grieving the death of who I was once because I am no longer that Cindy. Now, I'm still me. I'm still a kind person. I'm still a leader. I'm still soulful. I'm still compassionate. All those things are there. But what ended up happening was peeling, a very deep peeling of removing labels that are often associated with identity. Those labels or titles are often how we associate or see ourselves. And when we no longer have those labels, sometimes we feel lost. If you've ever asked someone, tell me about you, they might say, well, I'm an athlete, I'm an IT manager. And they start with their label. They don't tell you, you know what? I'm someone who enjoys having fun. I'm someone who really works hard in my community as a volunteer doing XYZ. Most people, when it comes to their identity, they tell you about the label, but not who they are inside. And I had this moment when I realized how much of how I viewed myself was connected to labels and how I was grieving the loss of those labels. And I didn't even know it was a thing. It was a true shock at the moment, but at the same time, it was very enlightening because one, I allowed myself to let that Cindy go, to grieve something that I chose to do, which is to leave that old me to be in this space, which is very fulfilling and I love. But there was still a shift that had to happen because it is difficult to fully embrace who you truly are, your core, and the space through which you choose to move in life if you're holding on to remnants of the old. You can see the old with love, with empowerment, with good memories. But if you're still holding on to it consciously or subconsciously, there's a part of you that's still tied to that. There was a part of me that was. I'm not embarrassed to say it because it's part of being human. It's part of my own soul evolution. And I hope that in sharing this story, it might help you. And I'll also share with you that I had a good cry. And, I'm not a big crier. I do get emotional. You have seen me emotional sometimes when I think about my mom on this podcast. But for the most part, I'm not a crier. And I had a good cry as a way to release the grief that I was carrying in terms of how I associated an old identity that was once a part of me, but was no longer me. And that brought a certain level of freedom. And what's also important to note is that sometimes we grieve and don't even know we're grieving. It was clear to me that I was grieving the death of my mother, but it was not clear to me that I was grieving old job that I chose to leave behind to do this, which I loved. And sometimes we grieve things without knowing them. And the important thing to remember is that it's not a weakness. It's part of our evolution. It's also part of letting go of what was and really getting to the core of who we are. And equally important, letting go of the labels and the identifiers through which we relate. That if you took that away, who are you? Many people, you take away their job title, they're nobody. You take away their sports identity, they don't know who they are. When we're able to know who we are outside of that identity, that's freedom. And what happens during change is that we let go, we lose, we transform, or we become somebody different. And part of the discomfort of doing that is letting go of what we no longer are. And when we understand that, that's wisdom. Not always easy, part of the discomfort, but it's also part of us finding our own wisdom because grief is the nervous system's way of letting go. And if we understand the grief, we understand that we can let it go. That's why it's wisdom. And no transformation is complete without letting go. Now, there is science behind overwhelm. There's a biological reason why it feels so intense. When your external world changes, the brain panics. The amygdala, the part responsible for detecting threat, activates. Cortisol then floods your body. Your prefrontal cortex, the center of logic and vision, starts to shut down. That's why in transition, even small, decisions feel overwhelming. And it's not just emotional, it's neurological. According to research by Dr. Bruce McEwen at Rockefeller University, the brain experiences uncertainty almost identically to physical pain, which means your body is responding to change like it's a wound. But here's what I want you to remember: discomfort isn't proof that you're doing something wrong, it's proof that you're being rewired. When your world shifts, your identity often crumbles with it. Going back to the example of my job, my whole identity shifted in a multidimensional way. The death of my mother as a result of COVID, losing my best friends, that was a big change. Moving cities, leaving a job, it was a complete change. Everything crumbled, everything turned upside down. And it took a while to find solid ground. Who you are in a previous role, that relationship, that version of you, it gets stripped away, just like I got stripped away. And this is the place where many people get stuck because nobody teaches us how to be in between versions of ourselves. I know no one certainly ever taught me. I've had many rebirths in my life. I've had many reinventions. This latest one is not the first, but it was the first time that I learned something new and I was unaware of specific grief. Let's go back to this idea of the space between who you were and who you're becoming. It's a cocoon. It looks chaotic on the outside, but inside, something sacred is taking shape. And your job isn't to rush the process, but to stay present. Now, in full disclosure, I know it is hard. I can tell you from personal experience, I like to get things done yesterday. So sometimes being in the moment, being in the present can be difficult. But this is where clarity finds you. If you resist it, it persists longer. If you drop into it, you will find what you need. And that's where the next version of you starts to emerge, not from control, but from trust. To help with this, there is a 5-step grounding process for navigating change. Here's the framework that I walk my clients through when they feel like everything's falling apart. Step 1, honor what's ending. Don't skip the grief. Even if the change was your choice, you're not just losing a job or a relationship, you're releasing the energy of the old version of you. If you hold on to that grief, if you keep it inside of you, it's hard to replace and reframe that pain into something new. And you will stay stuck in loops. So it's important to feel it, to heal it, to release it. Remember, grief is sacred. It's okay to let it move through you. Step 2, anchor into core values. When your outer world is uncertain, your inner values become your compass. Really get to know who you are at the core and what your values are, not the values other people may be imposing on you, not the values that you think you should have, but what truly are your values from a place of internal alignment. A good way to align to your values is by asking yourself, what do I want to stand for in this season, regardless of outcome? Choose 3 guiding words and let them root you. Let those be your values. You can choose more, but 3 is a solid number. Step number 3, create micro rituals for stability. In chaos, this is important. In chaos, your nervous system needs something consistent. That might be a walk at sunrise, a 2-minute breathwork moment, a journaling check in. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but it does need to be consistent because this is what is parlaying to your nervous system that you are safe. Equally important, it also creates structure, and structure creates safety for the nervous system. The system needs safety because it often looks at what is unsafe. Step number 4, let yourself be seen and supported. You don't have to do it alone. Let people in. Share what's real, whether it's a coach, a therapist, a friend. Your pain needs to be witnessed, not just managed. I can tell you from personal experience that I used to be that person who would say, I'm fine, I'm fine. And it was fake positivity. It really was. I wasn't fine. And I remember one day telling a friend, you know what? No, I'm not fine. And my friend said, well, thank God, because I was wondering if you were real. It's good to know that you're human. I am human. I just wasn't being authentic or letting people see the real me who was in pain because I was being fake positive. Don't be fake positive. It is good to be positive. It is good to have a strong and positive mindset, but it needs to be real. You need to be real. If you're feeling something, share it to release it and then make the shift to replace any pain, anything troubling with that positivity. You need to first release to replace and create new pathways of belief systems and feelings, but it has to be real for it to work. It's also important to remember that you are not weak for needing connection. You're human. We're human. Be human. Embrace the human that you are because there's only one of you. And step number 5, we briefly alluded to it. Redefine the narrative. The story you tell yourself about the change you are experiencing becomes the energy you carry. So when you share with people, when you express it, when you let it go, you are witnessing what was, you are addressing it, but then you need to reframe, you need to replace those old belief systems, those griefs with a new narrative for it to work and integrate. And you can ask yourself, if this change is sacred, what is it calling me into? Not why me. Don't use the why me because that's going into victimhood. Rather, what is being made available through this transition, through this change? Rewriting, rewiring, changing the story is creating meaning. And this is where resilience begins and strengthens. So if your life right now feels like it's unraveling in front of you, please remember you're not broken. You are being rebuilt, and you can and you will come out the other side stronger. You're not losing your path. You're being invited to align with one that is deeper, that is more authentic and genuine to you, to who you truly are. And it's a beautiful person that you are becoming. Tell me in the comments what's one part of your life that is shifting right now, and what's one value you're anchoring into as you move through it. If you feel like you need additional support during this transitional period, I do offer one-to-one sessions where we navigate this season with strategy and soul. I also have some free resources. It's all in the description below. Please remember to subscribe. It helps the channel. Remember, this space is for people who are becoming, for people who are letting go, and for people stepping into something new, even when it's messy. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to keep on walking your path. I'm walking with you. And as we evolve, transform, and grow together, we hold the space for others to do so. And yes, I'm going to say it, we create a better world. We truly do. Until next time, make it a great day.